Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to our live stream showcase. I will be your host, your glamorous host, Mike Chin, one of the directors of Stone's Throw Media. And this is a live stream all about live streams. It's a little bit meta. It's all going to get a bit weird. We're going to show you behind the scenes and all sorts of stuff. So here's what we've got lined up for you. We've got one hell of a show. We're going to talk about who we are. So you're going to get to know us a little bit better. So, you know, the proof's in the pudding. We actually know what we're talking about. We're going to talk about video calls, webinars, and live streams. What's the difference? What do all these words mean? You know, people band around different words and terms. We're going to explain what they mean in a nice and simple way. We're going to give you some tips. Some people have been saying, hey, I've got a webinar to run. How do I do it? We need some tips. We've got a great video lined up for you that will tell you some nice do's and don'ts of how to run a webinar. We've got a bit of a Q&A session, so if you do have any questions, let us know in the chat. We are actually live. It is what? I don't know, 10:04 right now, and we're live. So you can ask us some questions, any burning questions that you've got pent up, put them in the chat, and we'll be going to cherry picking the best questions and talking about them. We're going to talk about different types of live streaming events. So we've done quite a few already last year, so we've come across different types of events. We're going to talk about what you could do with live streams. Then we have a case study, somebody that we've worked with. We're going to be talking to her over an interview. Then we've got to look at this studio. You're going to see a little bit of the behind the scenes, all the panicking and the chaos. There you go. You can see, hello, hello. There we are. And all the panicking and social distancing that we have to do behind the scenes. Then we're going to look at some extra cool things that you can be doing with your live stream. Then we're going to be talking about hybrid events, so where you have a real event and a virtual event and combining those, and we've been working with a company about delivering those events. And then we're going to talk about the cost, the moolah. How much does all this cost? Because that's what a lot of people want to know at the end of the day. And then we have another Q&A session at the end. So jam-packed. We're jam-packed. We've got loads of stuff. So keep the questions coming in. I can't see the chat, but we do have the other director of Stone's Throw Media in the wings who's going to be cherry-picking the questions. Hello, Matthew.
Hello, good morning. Yeah, I feel like I'm about to deliver some Eurovision results here.
How are we doing?
Tuned in live. Yeah, all good, thanks, all good, yeah.
All good.
It's nil point. It's nil point for you, I'm afraid, Mike.
Yeah, that's about right. I don't really deserve any points. I appreciate that. That's totally fair. Matthew, you're going to tell us a little bit about who we are. We're going to meet the team through you. So I'm going to hand it over to Matt to meet the team.
Great, yeah. Good morning, everybody. Welcome along. Great to have you all here. We just want to do a bit of an introduction just to tell you a bit about who we are and why you should listen to us for the next kind of hour or so. So, yeah, Stone's Throw Media have been going for almost 10 years now, which has gone very, very quickly. Mike and I started the business, almost 10 years ago. We met some 12, 13 years ago at university. We've got a team of in-house employees. We've got 7 people, all focused on a day-to-day basis throughout the week, fully focused on video production and animation. So we don't look at anything else. Monday to Friday, it's all about video production and animation for businesses. So we work across so many different sectors. It's universities, education in general, housing, charities, manufacturing, and there's so many other ones that could have come under different categories as well. The whole reason we set this business up was to make a bit of a difference here in the Midlands, because when we were looking at opportunities, when we were back at university all those years ago, they all seemed to be in London and Manchester and further afield. And so we looked at opportunities in the local area, and there really were not too many. And so we thought, why not have a go rather than having to move to London on super low salaries with super high rents, and that didn't sound like a great formula to us. So we made a bit of a go of it here, and we've tried to always stay true to the area by giving so many opportunities back to young people, by opening up the doors for placements and work experience. And that's been a real challenge over the last 12 months. But overall, we are still really committed to delivering that and helping a lot of people. And some of the people who've come through the doors have gone on some really fantastic things. One that we're most proud of is Ben. I hope he's not tuning in because I don't want his ego to get bigger, but he's working on productions with Netflix, and he's been schmoozing with David Beckham and all this. And it's been great for us to say we played a very small part in that, but we've helped people along the right way. One of the huge things for us is about creating employment in this area. So it's quite a fragmented market, video production and animation. There's a lot of 1- and 2-man bands, a lot of freelancers. We've always wanted to create full-time jobs so that people can earn proper salaries and create a proper lifestyle around a career we think is only going to grow. And because of the way we've approached it, and we're going to continue to approach it and keep growing our team, it puts us in the top 3.5% in the entire Midlands for company size. So it's not us trying to flex and say, look how great we are. I mean, it is a little bit, but it's to give customers confidence that we are here all the time, focused on video production and animation and everything that goes on within that for corporate communications. So you can always have faith that we are the team behind it. There's no outsourcing to all different parts of the world or different parts of the country, and somebody else is turning up to deliver your video or animation. It is all the projects you see. It is this team. So that's a little bit about us. And if you have questions about that, just let us know in the chat, as Mike has already said. I'll hand back to Mike, and we'll get on with what you're really here for, which is to hear all about the live streaming.
There we go. Yes, but I think events have changed, haven't they, Matt? Really, going forward from now on, it might be a scary world for people going forward, because it's going to be learning new tech and new ways of doing events. But I think what we're about today is just embracing that change, really, isn't it?
I think that's right, isn't it? That we've got a new C word, which is something we shouldn't be saying, and we've just got to deal with it. We've got to face it head on, and we're about trying to help businesses and organisations and people to move in the right direction and not just sit there and kind of hope that things are going to turn around suddenly, because the world will just move on. And we're trying to give people in this area and beyond a bit of a kick in the right direction so that things can get going. Because if we sit there and wait, then bad things probably are going to happen. Whereas it's a chance for us to help customers get ahead of competition and make some positive steps forward, because the world isn't going to go back to what it was. I think that is something that is widely recognised.
Definitely. Right. Okay. So thank you, Matt, for introducing us to the team. I am going to talk about a little bit about what we do, about what we offer, and then we will get into the thick of it with the live streams. So for people that don't know who we are, as Matt said, we've been around for 10 years, and it's getting scary how old we're getting, and the grey hairs are starting to show. But what we do day in, day out is video and animation. That is our bread and butter. We love that. That's what we know. So those company-wide videos, those all singing and dancing videos that a company has, that sits on the main page of their website, that they show to all their customers, that they just brag about, we do those kind of videos, as you can see here. But we also do a case study video. So if you've got a great experience with a customer or a product where it's gone from production to the end of the conveyor line and then it's gone to the customer, we do those videos, and we can spend a full day talking to your customers and all sorts of stuff and make a whole day of it. And they work brilliantly on platforms like LinkedIn and so on. And we can make long versions and then shorter versions, so you can put them out on social platforms. We make campaign adverts. So if you want to do a marketing campaign, you want to put it out on a Facebook ads and all that sort of stuff, and you want to use actors and a bit of a script and a storyboard and a bit of a story plays out, we can do those, no problem. And products, if you've got a cool product like this milkshake, for example, we don't have free samples to send out, unfortunately, but if you've got a product and you want to make a nice singing, dancing video with trendy music on it, we can do that, no problem. Then we go on to the animation side. So if you've got a business that isn't maybe as visual and you want to make it a little bit more creative, or you want to explain something that's a bit more complex, we can do it with animations, with explainers. So this is a video about neutropenia, about something that's very complex and very difficult to understand. So we animated it, had a little bit of fun with it, with a tricky topic, and it worked very, very well. We also do whiteboard animations. So you've probably seen these things, but this is explaining finance, not one of the most exciting things in the world, but it is very important, and we've made something that is dull and boring and give it a bit of a creative spin. We also do full character stories, so if there's scenarios that are a little bit tricky to film, this one was based around accidents and emergencies, not really something that you want to be filming, and also very difficult to set up, with actors and so on, so we animated it. Also, motion graphics, if you've got a bunch of stats that you want to put together we can do those. We can put it in a nice looking video like this, make cute little graphics and so on, and put all your cool stats in just a better format. So that's what we do, that's what we offer. But also, we do a little bit of training as well. And now back in the days when we could all be in the same room and hug and lick each other's faces or whatever, we used to do this training in group sessions and all that sort of stuff. Obviously now, with the way things are, we can't do this, but it's training alongside filming things yourself. So if you wanted to film things using your phone and edit footage using your phone, we used to do training in real life. But what we've done now is we've uploaded all that training onto an online platform that people can pay for and then learn on demand. So we've tried to adapt that so it suits people's needs at the moment. But hopefully we'll get back to a stage where we can train face to face. So that's us. And we're going to do one more flex now. We're going to play our show reel, and then I promise we will get to the live streaming business. So here is our show reel. Enjoy. Okay, so that was our show reel. Hope you enjoyed that. And now we're going to get into live streaming. So remember, if you do have questions, leave them in the chat. Matt is going to be picking out the best questions and reading them back to me. It will be putting me on the spot a little bit, but that's the whole point of going live, is to interact with the audience that are watching. So make sure you leave some questions in the chat. Now, let's talk about what's the difference between all these words and terminology. So a video call versus a webinar versus a live stream event. Now, we do have some graphics, but we haven't actually tested them on the screen. So they might look a bit naff. Where Tom's looking at me over here with a bit of a nervous face and what these are going to look like. But we put together a bit of a Venn diagram. So here we go. Let's have a look. So a video call, I don't really need to tell you what a video call is. We're all sick of them. These Zoom quizzes and whatnot, they just go on all the time. So basically what a video call is everybody has an equal chance to talk. It's a group call where everybody has the same chance, same platform, same opportunity to say something, like a normal meeting. That would be a video call, and they're usually private affairs. A webinar, and probably quite a few of us have been on webinars now, is something where, there we go, we've got a Venn diagram, Tom. Look at that. Look at that. I mean, you can't see it great, so we haven't tested it, but you get the idea. That's a group call there. A webinar is something where it might be hosted on something like Zoom or Teams, but you have a host or a co-host, and you have participants. Now, this might be a closed event still. It might have been sent out on Eventbrite, and the host might be sharing their screen on their laptop. It's still very much a cozy affair. They're on their laptop, you know, and they're just using a webcam and off they go, and some PowerPoint slides. So these are absolutely fine, nothing wrong with them at all, and they're very, very useful. They definitely have their place, but the participants, they don't have an active role. They can't really say anything, not like a group video call. They just passively watch. So that would what I would be classed as a webinar. And the reason why we're using these glamorous graphics that I definitely didn't do last night at the last minute is because it is a Venn diagram. Because if we go to the last one, which is a live stream event, obviously, which is what we're doing now, there is a little bit of a crossover. And that crossover is I suppose technically this could be classed as a webinar. It's a bit of a webinar on steroids maybe, but it is essentially the same thing, but you're adding a lot more production to it. So now we can queue up videos, we can add a production stage, we can have remote locations, and we're going to go into all that when we talk about what we're doing here, a bit about the setup. So that's what we mean by those terminologies. So a video call, a webinar, and a live stream event. That last graphic isn't loaded in. Tom, there it is. There we go. You can woke up in the end. See, look at that. Look at all my hard work that I did last night, like 12 o'clock at night. So there you go. And you can see why there's a little bit of crossover on those, because you know, this is technically still a webinar. So the reason why I wanted to explain those terms is because everybody uses different words for different things, but essentially that's the three types of things you can do. And you know, a webinar might also be the same thing as an online class if you're doing online classes of Pilates or yoga and stuff. So it's all sort of falls into the same bracket. So hopefully that makes it clear when we're talking about live streaming events. It's like that extra special event where there's a stage and a TV and a host, and you've actually gone to some crazy effort, and you can do so much more. And that last one here is what we're going to talk about quite a bit. But the middle one is also valuable, and we've had a few questions about that. A few people just before this live stream asking about it, saying, how can I make my webinar better? What platform do I use, and so on and so forth. Now, this video that we've got coming up, it doesn't necessarily tell you what platform you need, because essentially they all do the same thing. If you can host a call and have participants, you're halfway there. But there are little things that you can do that make a big difference. So we've got a little video lined up of top tips of how to make your webinar better. So play it away, Thomas. Here we go. So here's our top tips on running your webinar. So the first tip is to make sure that the camera is either eye level or slightly above eye level. Most webcams, if you're using a laptop, is at the top of the lid. I don't need to tell you that sometimes that angle isn't the most flattering. Anybody that's opened the camera on their phone from that angle will know, and all selfies are usually took from above. So if you want to make the camera eye level or slightly above, it's a more flattering angle. So what you could do is maybe put the laptop up on a stand maybe. This might require you buying a separate keyboard and mouse, but if you can still get to the laptop and still work the laptop as normal, then you can carry on using it that way. The next tip is to address the lens. Now, everybody knows that when you're on a video call, it is very tempting to look at yourself. You know, you can see yourself in full screen sometimes, and this can be a bit of a distraction. Yes, it is important to check your camera, make sure that there's nothing going on in the background, or that your hair looks nice and all that sort of stuff. But that is something really that you should kind of get done early on, and maybe have it in a very minimized window in the corner if you can. So making sure that you address the lens not only looks like that you're confident, but it also comes across a little bit more professional as well. Another tip is to make sure that you give yourself a break. When you're doing a webinar, when you're delivering a webinar, it does feel like you are talking quite a lot, and the audience aren't going to give you a lot back. They're passively watching, they're not really focusing on engaging or talking back to you. So maybe have a few videos lined up just to give yourself a little bit of a chance to breathe, to relax, maybe catch up on the chat, or just to focus a little bit on what you're going to say next. Something that I always find really useful is to have a second monitor. Now, it can be really useful. You can have on one screen just what you are sharing for the webinar, but on the other screen you can have other things like maybe the chat or a spare tab open so you can search things quickly, or just your script on what you're going to say. But having two monitors is very useful. Now, this seems a little bit silly maybe, but having a bottle of water handy is always a top tip. Now, I say bottle, one of those sealed bottles, not a glass of water, because the last thing you want to do is knock a glass of water over during a webinar. Maybe the nerves will get to you, maybe you have a little bit of a dry mouth, and then you can take that bottle of water when you're showing one of your videos, or somebody else is taking a section of the webinar for you. This next tip is all about preparing if something goes wrong. Now, pilots do this when they fly a plane. Thankfully, they always list the amount of things that could go wrong and have a plan for them. The reason why they do this is because it takes the elimination of thoughts, that they don't have to think about anything because they've already prepared to do it. So if X happens, they do Y. So it seems a little bit drastic, but if I explain it in a sense of a webinar, well, if my internet goes, then I could have an email prepared, ready to send out saying, sorry, but my internet has gone. Maybe you could reconnect to the stream, or we could try it at a later date. Most things you could probably think of beforehand and prepare for them. What if this happens? What if that doesn't happen? And so on. So here's a tip if you're using Zoom as your webinar platform. On Zoom, of course, you know you can record the webinars, but also you can upload them straight to YouTube and Facebook and a few other platforms. You don't have to keep the video on your computer, the file on your computer, and then upload it with all the titles and whatnot. You can do it straight from Zoom itself, and it just saves a little bit of time. Another tip, I would say probably one of the most important, is to be yourself. Try not to portray something that you're not. You know, if you're somebody who takes these things very seriously and you like to deliver serious content, then do that. But my personality is always a little bit looser, let's say. I'm always joking around and so on, so I tend to have that tone in my webinars and live stream. But do what you feel comfortable with. Try not to do something that feels very, very out of your comfort zone, because people will usually spot it. So be yourself and be confident. And my last tip is practice, 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 practice. And I don't mean just reading through the script in your head. I mean real practice. Maybe you could record yourself on the phone delivering what you're going to do, or record yourself on Zoom or wherever it is and watch it back. And that is one of the most painful things to do sometimes, is to watch yourself back. Yes, you actually do sound like that. Do you think I enjoy hearing my yam yam accent spoken back to me? No, I don't. But it is very important that you watch yourself back and learn from watching yourself back, because you do learn quite a lot. Sometimes you feel like you're waffling on, and then you watch it back, and actually it was really useful. So there are my top tips for running and hosting a webinar. Hope you found them useful. And over back to the handsome chap in the live stream. That's me. Hello. Thanks, Mike. Past Mike. Right, I hope you found those webinar tips useful. Again, if you've got any questions, any queries about running your own webinar, if you do want to talk platforms and stuff, just let us know. Leave your questions. And talking of questions, we've had some questions already. Isn't that right, Matthew?
Yes, indeed. Yes. Well, we've had plenty of comments coming in on YouTube. We've had some questions emailed in as well. Email, remember that?
Yeah, remember that?
Good old days. But also a comment I thought I'd just mention. I gave you nil point at the start with my Eurovision reference. I've been called out by Superfast IT, who've said that's very harsh and you deserve a solid 8 out of 10. So,
yeah, I'll take an 8 out of 10. I'll take an 8 out of 10.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. You're in contention for the prize.
I'll be all right with an 8 out of 10. Damn. Okay, so we've got any questions, Matthew?
Yeah, well, one quick key question I think has come through. What do you think are the best platforms to use for webinars? That's something that's come up a couple of times in the last week, actually, as well.
Yeah, so I think people do get a little bit hung up on what platform works best. I mean, I know everybody knows it, but Zoom is one of the most reliable video call softwares I've come across. We've used quite a lot, haven't we, in meetings and stuff, Matt? And I don't know about you, but I always think Zoom just has this just better connection, better quality. Maybe they've got more sort of cloud servers. I don't know, but I always seem to get just a better experience with video quality on Zoom. But yeah, I mean, go on. Sorry, Matt. Go on.
Sorry. Yes, I was going to say, I think sometimes people think Zoom is purely just for phone calls, but it has got a very good function for hosting webinars as well. So using their premium function, which doesn't cost too much, it's a pretty worthwhile investment, and you've got a multi-function kind of use. Then you've got all the premium features for calls, so you can manage people and turn people's mics off, all this kind of stuff. But also, yeah, you've got the webinar features as well. So it seems to make sense if you're, and also you don't have to worry about that 40-minute cutoff point. So it might be a worthwhile thing to invest in that you've got a bit of a solution for multiple things, rather than having, we're paying for a call account and we're also paying for a webinar host. Why not go for it all in one?
Yeah, I just think they've worked it out quicker than everybody else, and they've got the market, and it's about, I think it's about £100 a year for the advanced one, which, when you break it down, isn't too bad. And obviously you can use it for family calls and all sorts of stuff if you buy it. But yeah, it's that control over the participants. So if you're expecting, you know, 30, 40 people, 100 people. My wife, she's been on like sort of Pilates courses and sort of like all different sort of things and talks where there's hundreds of people in there. You want to be able to manage their microphones. So you want to be able to turn them off and make sure that they don't just barge in and say stuff. So you can control the session a lot more, and it gives you better options to share screens and give you like a whiteboard that you can draw on. So I think they just figured it out nice and quick. So I would recommend that, but there are other ones. Now and again, some people just say, oh, what about Flimflar? And I'm like, I've never heard of Flimflar, but I'm sure it's fine. So there's always different platforms, but essentially whatever works for you, I would say Zoom is probably the best one. Have we got any more questions, Matthew?
There are some more questions. Well, I think they're probably more suited to when you've gone through some of the different types of live streaming. But there's one comment just coming from Rose, who's giving you a 10 out of 10 for the sweater. I don't know if that's serious or not, but yeah. There you go. Make of that what you will.
Is that about for your sweater or mine?
No, your one. I don't
know.
Mine. I haven't been given a score.
Yeah. Well, just.
I don't want to know.
It's just one of them things, this whole thing, I threw it on. Okay, and just please keep me updated on any abuse that I get in the chat as well, or any kind words. I need them. I need the kind words. I'm a fragile beast. Okay, let's talk about different, thank you, Matt, by the way, he's gone. Don't worry, we just cut him out. We're going to talk about different types of live streams. So these are the things that we've come up with. These are the things that we've worked on. What type of live stream events could you do? And there's lots of different things, but we don't know all the businesses out there. We don't know all the needs when it comes to live streams. So if we do mention something that we haven't thought of, that you're like chomping at the bit to talk about, and could you do this? The answer is probably yes, but we just haven't come across it yet. So some of the live streams that we can do are educational. So this would be classed as an educational live stream. This is a live stream where we're basically just giving away knowledge. Obviously, we do expect a little bit of a return on that. We want people to be engaged. It creates people's awareness of us, but maybe a few people would be interested in getting a live stream themselves, or just ask questions about webinars, or even just want a video from this event. So yeah, educational events are essentially a marketing tool and a sales tool, but it's always a good idea to give away information that your customers will find useful. So this would be classed as an educational live stream. Also awareness, again, bit of a crossover, but this would be classed as an awareness event as well. But if you've got a new product, a new service that you want to pay attention to, back in the day, in 2014, where we bought a drone and we made a whole launch event about the drone, which seems unbelievable now because drones are everywhere. But back at the time, there was this need, there's this desire for people to see what drones were all about, and we held this event at the Molyneux, and we got customers from it. So if you've got this cool new innovative thing, then you should brag about it, make a live stream about it, and that's essentially what we're doing here. This whole event was us going, hey, we've been doing a lot of live streams. Maybe people want to know about that. So you need to have a look at your business or what you sell and think, would people want to know? And maybe we can make a live stream event about it. Awards is a big one. So if you're part of a networking group that give away, that have an awards event, or you have a business where you need to reward your staff in some way, and you can't do it at the moment. Maybe a webinar, a Zoom call wouldn't be the same. So what we've done is we've actually had awards where we do staff awards, like this one behind me here. This was us. This was the staff awards, internal staff awards for the University of Wolverhampton, and this really just brought together the whole community, or the whole staff of the uni. And what's interesting actually is that going forward, we're probably going to do like a hybrid of like having a real event and a virtual event, because usually with these award ceremonies, you can only have 100 people or so. You've got to put on a 3-course meal and so on. But then you're limiting all the other people that can't come. But now for the people that can't come, they have another option, and there's actually more people viewing this awards than they usually do when they have a real event. So it's quite an interesting way of looking at it. But with awards, you can send out the award in the post. You could maybe send out dummy awards so people don't know if they've won. They have to open it live on a Zoom call or something. There's all sorts of creative things you could do with an award. A building launch. So if there are construction and buildings being finished during this pandemic, and it's tricky to launch a building and have an event when you can't actually put people in that building. But that is something that we did when the restrictions were a little bit looser back last summer, or it might have been September, October when we did this. So we did have sort of the flexibility to get a few more people in the same room, but it was still pretty restricted. So what we did here is we got a lot of really nice shots of the building beforehand, aerial shots at night, just basically painting the building in its best light with video. And then we had a live stream where we got the Mayor of West Midlands in there, we got people from the council in there, but also in the building we got the Vice Chancellor of the university there and a few of the key people to do with the building, all talking. It just made this whole event grander. We even had a ribbon cut right at the end, so we still managed to make it a big event for people to attend. And of course, there could be a performance. So if you've got a performance, if you're part of a festival or a group, we can do those as well. I've seen a lot of these COVID concerts that people do, and they sort of do it over a webcam and stuff. It's never quite the same. But if there was like an event or a performance that you wanted to capture, we could do those. And here's a few examples of just upping the quality of what you can put out there. And after and before the event, you can actually have videos leading up to it to hype the event, to make sure that people are aware of it. But when the event's finished, we're still recording it, and then we can edit it down to highlights. So you could essentially have follow-up videos and a little bit of videos to put out there on your social media, so you can talk about it after. Just a bunch of material that you can have to market yourself. So those are the kind of events that we know of, but obviously we don't know of every single business out there. So if you can think of something, or maybe you have a little bit different in your head of what you thought you could do, then get in touch, and please keep leaving questions in the chat, because Matt's got to have something to do at the end of the day. He's just going to be twiddling his thumbs and he'll be crying soon. So yeah, make sure you leave some questions. Right, now we're going to go to our first interview. So we was lucky enough to be talking to Michelle from the University of Wolverhampton. We've worked with Michelle on a number of live events, and I caught up with her earlier in the week to have a chat about some of the things that she was apprehensive about. So we're going to play that video now and enjoy.
My name's Michelle White. I'm the events manager at the University of Wolverhampton. So events that we've done virtually, obviously since lockdown for us, events have all gone virtual, and that's been anything from Teams meetings with staff to putting on Zoom webinars to our, engage with our student audience or the public audience with some public lectures. So being able to still run the staff awards event and not having to cancel that due to, COVID, and not having to be able to hold that on campus and invite all the staff, because usually we would have a lovely ceremony in our Chancellor's Hall for around 120 staff. The Vice Chancellor would be there to welcome everybody and put on talks. We'd have entertainment, we've had dinner. We decided to live stream the event so staff could still engage, staff could still be awarded and noticed and recognised for their achievements of the year. We were able to still put it on and really mark that occasion. And for like the Springfield opening ceremony, we're still able to engage with the stakeholders and the businesses with the opening, marking all the achievements that it's gone from, from the building being a rubble, and being able to really open that amazing facility and promote it and the brownfield site and showcase what the university's got to offer. So being able to still do that was a great achievement for us. So obviously when we were thinking about marking the occasion and opening Springfield campus, we really wanted to be able to showcase that building. It's a stunning building with amazing facilities. So being able to showcase those without actually having to have people come onto campus due to COVID restrictions, it was great to be able to do that live streamed. We were able to really show what it looks like if they were walking through the building themselves. So putting it out there virtually and reaching a really large audience, it was great to be able to do that. Looking at the cost and how it compares often doing it virtually. Live streaming, it can be less. For the Staff Awards, it was actually around 40% less for us to actually put it on. So that was really good. I would say to anybody, any marketing managers, anybody out there, event managers who are a little bit nervous, not sure what to do about doing an event, whether it's virtual or hybrid, so wanted to mix in a bit of both, then just go for it. You really don't have anything to lose, just a lot to gain. You gain the knowledge of being able to do it. You're able to reach a higher audience. If you've not done a live streamed event or a virtual event before, I'd always recommend to go with somebody that you know and trust, and for us that's got to be stones throw.
Lovely stuff. Thank you so much, Michelle, for saying those nice words. And I promise we didn't pay her or anything. She said those on her own free will. Anyway, thank you so much for saying those things, Michelle. Now we're going to look at our studio setup. We're going to talk to you a little bit about how we set this up. It all gets a little bit breaking the fourth wall, a little bit meta, and this was the tricky part of this whole sort of live stream, is how we're going to show this. But first of all, we're going to just tell you what we've got set up. Now, remember, every event is different. So every time we plan an event, the cameras are always in different places. We use different amount of cameras. We've got all different types of cameras for different functions, different lenses for different purposes. So we've got 4 cameras set up for this one because that's what we need. That's all we need, but we could have more. We could have like 9 or 10 cameras set up, but that would be overkill, and Tom would probably have a mental breakdown of all the cameras that he has to switch to. So for this one, we've got this wide camera of me, and for the people that really need it, we've got a close-up camera of me. Look at that. Look at how you lucky devils you. So you can see me and how I'm getting older. But right at the back, we've got a wide camera there, so you can see the stage, and you can see the, there we go. Hello, everybody's here. Look, all keeping distance and so on. And we've got a handheld camera held by Jamie. There it is, and he can move it around and wiggle it and all sorts of stuff. So those are our 4 cameras. Now I'm actually going to get up. Now, the only reason I'm doing this is to show off my new trainers. I've got some new trainers, and I just wanted to show them off. Very nice. Sarah's got her thumbs up. There we go. I'm going to do some parkour. Look at that. And the reason why I'm sort of standing here is because I want to show you this. This is the main desk operations. This is where all those cameras are going. There's Tom, pretending not to panic. There we go. Give us a thumbs up, Tom. Now, Tom's one of these people. On the surface, he looks calm and collected. Underneath, it's all crumbling apart, isn't it, Tom? It's all just fading away. But he's okay. He's doing a great job. And all the cameras will be connected here. So he's the guy switching from one camera lens to the other to the other. Then all the audio will go over here. Now, we've split up the desk. Usually it's together, but we've split it up for social distance purposes. But the audio goes over here to Sarah. There's the lovely Sarah there, and she's managing all the audio levels, making sure that my microphone is coming in correctly, making sure that Matt's Zoom call is coming in correctly, making just, if we've got multiple microphones, multiple speakers, that's where she would be managing those. But also she's managing the stream. She can actually see the stream, see the chat, and feed me, a little bit of the kind words that people are saying about me, but making sure that it's all going well. So she's managing that. We also have this remote camera. So here is something cool that you might recognize these cameras. Where am I? Oh, there I am. There you can see me. You might recognize these cameras from shows like Gogglebox and Big Brother and those kind of things. So essentially, this is a remote control camera. So Tom can move this around. There he is. Look at that. And what these are great for it reduces the amount of crew that you need. Tom can just move this from his desk. He can just move the joystick around, and he can just basically point where he wants. And we can have multiple of these, and we can also have presets. So by a touch of a button, Tom can just snap to a different angle that he's already set up, and then off he goes. So I'm giving him a bit of pressure now, so he's got to switch to it and whatnot. But there you go, you get the idea. So that's something we can do. Another cool, which camera am I on? There I am. Another piece of kit that we can do, which is really, really cool, is we can have remote crews. So on the news, when they cut to the weatherman or wherever, and he's in a different part of the country, the way they do that is they have a van with a massive satellite dish, and that sends a signal. Now, we don't have a van with a huge satellite dish on top, but technology has come so far now where that satellite dish has turned into this small little black box. So we can have a remote crew that could be in a different part of a building or a different part of a campus or the country, and essentially all we need is that little black box to plug into the wall, into like an internet point, and then the IP address would talk to this IP address, and we get that signal crystal clear, and we can do live remote crews essentially anywhere we want. So that's just a really exciting new piece of kit. So pretty much this whole stage is very flexible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Jamie to carefully join me on the stage. So we're going to show you a little bit about the stage and a little bit about what's going on. So he's going to take very good care and not fall over or anything like that. Where are we? We're on the wide here. So this is essentially the setup. So now if we go to Jamie's camera, we'll be able to see sort of my point of view, and you can see the monitor over there. You can see that I've got 2 cameras on me. So if you are planning on doing something like this yourself, I'm not a professional host. I've had a bit of practice here and there, but there's no special. Hi, Jamie. Hi, Jamie. There's no like special secret sauce that I've got or anything like that. It's just having a go. It's not easy, but it is something you can do. And of course, if you didn't want to take it on yourself, you could hire in somebody that is very, very used to. So it's essentially a pop-up studio, and we can do all sorts of things with the studio itself. We go to the wide, Tom, and what we could do here is we could have some stools and sort of like a bit more of a formal setup here with a TV, but we could also have a settee and like a bit more of a relaxed setting over there, and you could move from one to the other. For this setup, we just need a decent looking stage. All the lights and the backdrop is things that we've done ourselves, but we could rent in furniture. We could rent in backdrops and things where, you know, things look a little bit different, and you can have all sorts of different lights and vertical screens and all sorts of different things. So it really depends on your imagination of what you can do. I think that's pretty much it. So I'm going to ask Jamie to politely go off the stage there. There he is, making his way off. And then we're going to talk about some other things that you could do with live streaming. So you've seen them already on this live stream, but you can have pre-recorded videos. So another thing that we like to do for customers when we're doing a live stream for them is make sure that we've got a bank of videos that we can cut to. So that was that video with Michelle, where we talked to Michelle. That was a pre-recorded video that I recorded this Monday with Michelle. And what that does, it breaks up the live stream itself. It gives a bit of a chance for the audience to have a break, maybe if they want to have a break, but also just a bit of a different scenery. You notice on TV, they're always cutting from one thing to the other all the time. And that is just a really nice way of breaking up the live stream. But also, it might be more of a practical solution. With the building launch, for example, you know, we're filming a building, but if we're stuck in one location, we've got a studio set up in one location, we have to show the building. That's the whole point. So here we made this video leading up to the event, and we can take all that for you, no problem, and just look at all the different things we can do. We can also add in a bunch of graphics. So the countdown clock that you saw at the start of this stream, the lower thirds, so lower thirds of these little graphics with our names on, we can customize those to your brand, make sure that they're all looking nice and have transitions and all sorts of stuff. This little thing here that Tom put together, we can put all that together as well. So it's not just plonking up cameras, it's tons of different things that just make the overall live stream just a better experience for everyone. It's just those little things that make a big difference, what I always keep saying. Right, and we're talking about pre-recorded videos. We have a pre-recorded video for you. So this takes quite a while to set up. So what we always say, if you do want to plan one of these events, is to make sure that you have the day before available, especially when you set up for a morning stream like we are today. We were here pretty much all day yesterday setting this up, and me and Tom actually were here till about 8 o'clock making sure everything was fine. So it does take a lot of prep, and here's a video that we put together of all that prep coming together.
So we're here today at the University of Wolverhampton in the Arena Theatre, and we're setting up to film a sort of virtual open day because lots of potential students can't be here obviously because of circumstances, so we're trying to bring that element to students at home. So yeah, we're sort of setting up today in preparation for tomorrow.
Clarify this special section, graphic. When live streaming, make sure you have an internet connection. A lot of people forget about that.
Health and safety is important, right, Tom?
Yeah.
And that brings us to the end of this Open Day Live event. A big thank you to Stone's Throw Media, who've put this video stream together. A big thank you to the team at the Arena Theatre.
So we just finished our epic 3-hour live stream. It went very well, very smoothly. I think that comes from all the communication between the team of Stone's Throw and the marketing team at the university. The event itself went really well. I think the day before we had to set up helped us test the elements, set them up correctly, find out what wasn't working, what isn't working, and that was key to the success of the event.
Now it's just pack down time, probably another 2.5 hours. There we are. Hello. I was looking at my iPad there. I wasn't quite ready. Yes, so that is how long it takes to put all this stuff together. It can take a while. There's a lot of kit. There's a lot of things going on in our heads, a lot of wires going into ports I don't even know, and it takes a lot of preparation. So think about that when planning your live stream. So I have been told that we are getting quite an influx of questions coming in. Please keep them coming in. But we didn't plan this, but we're going to have an impromptu Q&A session. So Matt is in the wings, cherry picking some of the questions, nodding away. There you go. Matt, I just always expect someone to burst in, you know, like those things that you get on YouTube, so those clips of like news broadcasts gone wrong and someone bursts in and all that sort of stuff. So Matt, what are the questions that have we got there?
Yeah, we've got lots of questions coming in. We've got one that came in from Gokhan. It might be a good one for you, Mike, because it's saying when you are presenting live and you make a mistake or you lose your line, or how do you recover from that if you've lost your trail of thought? I don't think it's happened so far, but you know, what do you do if that happens?
It has happened so far. You just haven't noticed it because you don't know what I've got written down here. So I mean, it just takes practice, you know. And I mentioned it in that webinar video where it's real practice, you know. Everything that I'm talking about now, I've written down on this Google Doc here, and I read it out loud yesterday multiple times. I read it to my wife last night, and I practiced it again, and I read it out loud and I watch it back. And you know, a couple of days ago, I recorded it in my home office and sent it to yourself, Matt, and a couple of members of the team to review it. So it is a little bit uncomfortable to watch yourself, and I always think, I don't have such a bad accent, do I? And then I listen to myself and I go, oh my God, I sound awful. But you have to kind of get over that pain. But if you do mess up on your live, which I have done already, you just have to move on. You just have to just sort of get over it, really, and embrace it. You know, people know that people slip up and make mistakes, and I think the best way to do it is just to carry on. I've already missed things and I skipped things ahead and had to swap them on the fly, but essentially people don't really notice it and they just think everything's going smoothly if you just keep a cool head, really. So that's my answer to that one.
Great. So there's a few more. John Southall has said, what metrics do you use to determine if you're going to do a pre-recorded event or a live stream? So, I mean, well, first thing I think is, would you, if it was 2019 all over again, the good old days, would you do this particular event you've got in mind? Would you do it in real life? And put money towards having a really high fancy event? If the answer to that's yes, that might help you to think, well, maybe we do something that's all kind of live and really go into town. If it's something that's maybe not so much that, you might go down the kind of pre-recorded route or webinar kind of route. But like kind of metrics that come to mind for me are things like how many attendees are going to be there, what are the sponsorship levels or opportunities. Are there other elements that you need? Maybe there's networking, or there's other talks that need to happen. So if it was, you've got your main stage, but there's other little breakout areas, breakout sessions that would happen. That might need to be a bit more of a all singing, all dancing event to make that kind of happen. I don't know if you've got any thoughts on that, Mike.
Yeah, well, I think that's probably like a little bit more of a hard factual reason why you should do a live stream rather than a pre-recorded video, but I've kind of got like a softer answer for it really. But there is something about going live as well. Like, people love to engage with people live. They like their names read out, John, right? They just like it. They just like to be part of something that's live and have that feedback immediately. I can think of examples like this where I come across this coach. I won't say what for, but like on YouTube, and he gives advice and stuff. But you can contact him for one-to-one coaching. And even though pretty much everything he told me one-to-one, it was on his YouTube channel, you just want that feedback. You want that sort of interaction. So there is something about going live that makes things a little bit more exciting, a little bit more interactive, engaging. The pressure's on, so maybe the viewers are just waiting for me to throw up and mess up. But there's something about that. But absolutely right, John. You can do a pre-recorded event, and there's nothing stopping you. And you can. The pressure is off on that one. Tom would be relaxed. He wouldn't have so many grey hairs already coming through if we could do pre-recorded events all the time, because you just premiere it. You can premiere it on YouTube, for example, and it plays as if it's live, so you can't skip ahead like TV, but you could also pause it and watch it back and so on. So yeah, there's nothing stopping you. So yeah, there are some look at the numbers of people come in and sponsors, but there's just something about going live as well. I think it adds a lot more sort of production to it.
Maybe like the Joe Wicks stuff's a good example, isn't it? He goes live doing his gym stuff, but you can find workouts on YouTube all day long, can't you? But
exactly.
I think people like just doing it at that moment and feeling part of it. Maybe.
Yeah, feeling part of it. There's something I think ingrained in our DNA to be part of something, and there is some things about YouTube and Facebook favour things that go live a little bit more. And I don't want to get into the algorithms and the back end of what YouTube do, because it's all a little bit of a weird science, but there is something to be said that if you do go live on those platforms, they will push the live streams a little bit more than an average post. So there is that to think about as well. So any more questions? Thanks, John. Any more questions?
There's quite a few more questions. Do you want to go through them all now? Or
let's have two more. Let's get two more done, and we'll move on.
All right, there's one that's quite a quick one, I think. It is John again saying, what prompter app is Mike using on his iPad, or is it best just to use Docs?
This is Google Docs, John. All right, it ain't nothing fancy, mate. All right, I'm a low maintenance man. All right, my wife will tell you. Trust me, it's a Google Doc. It's not a prompt. I've not got an auto cue. That's the way I work best. Now, Matt's a little bit different to me. He likes to write things word for word and memorise them word for word. So maybe if he was where I am, he would have an auto cue system, but which we do have. But for me, I need a couple of bullet points, and I just waffle and see what comes out. Sometimes it can be verbal diarrhea, but hopefully not too much today. So yes, just Google Docs. That's mine.
And there's a couple of similar questions. Rose and John kind of asking around, can you make live stream events charged for? Can you make them paid for events? Is there anything we can do around that? Yes, there is. We haven't done that a great deal, to be honest. But it is absolutely possible. You can use things like Eventbrite. There's other platforms out there. There's probably many, but I've come across Splash, Eventzilla. Yeah, and they all seem to facilitate it. One really cool thing we've got planned, if it does happen, is a graduation ceremony at a university. And when everybody, it runs into probably thousands of students all stepping up onto the stage saying, well done, here's your certificate. That's a special moment for them. And one really cool thing we're able to do is we can take the audio of every single clip, and using some clever software that's been developed, not by us, unfortunately, but it's you can kind of plonk it in and match it up with a spreadsheet, and it will match up all the names and extract it out. So, for example, John Southall, if you've got your BA in whatever it is, forensic science or something, it will automatically recognise that, take that clip out of the entire live stream, and now you've got something that's packaged up with maybe topped and tail with the university logos, etc. And that can be something that you either give away or something that can be purchased. And that's something that is fantastic, because it takes away a lot of stress doing that and time, and makes it really affordable, and hopefully makes it affordable or maybe even free for the students. So there's lots of clever things you can do. But if it's just about paying for an event, yeah, there's definitely a lot of platforms out there. I'd give it a good bit of research on Google. Or speak to a great events company, somebody like Opening Doors and Venues.
Oh my God.
Have a lot of experience in this.
What?
It's all gone full circle.
What? We're going to talk to those later, Matt. Well, John's getting a lot of airtime, so we can't take any more questions off John. He's just getting his name read out left, right and centre, isn't he?
We'll come back to some of the other questions in a bit, maybe.
Yeah, we will. So, yeah, please leave some more. And we've got a Q&A right at the end of the stream, and that's where we'll probably get a little bit more sort of loose on, keeping a tight ship. But we want to move along. So, yeah, keep the questions coming. Also, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, click that button. We need subscribers. But the next thing I am talking about is feedback on your live stream. One of the reasons that is so good about going live is the interaction. We've talked about it on the last couple of questions there, but that interaction with your audience is really valuable. People love it. People do just like being part of something. So I think what we can also do, we haven't got it for here. The way we're doing it now is that somebody in the background is cherry picking the best questions. I'm having a bit of back and forth. The reason why we're doing that is so we can show that we can have Zoom calls queued up. We can have multiple people on Zoom queued up. We can have people coming in and out of Zoom calls, so they're booked in at certain times. So it's not, a room full of people just chatting about the weather. So we've done that for events, but Matt's picking out the best questions and feeding them back to me. But what you could also have is a monitor with just like a hashtag on there. You want to be careful about that stuff, because it is the internet after all, so you don't know what people are going to say. So it would be good to have somebody in the background, picking out the best things, picking out which things can be appropriately put on the screen. But you can have like a feedback board. You can do all sorts. But if you're interacting with the audience, that's the sweet spot with live streams. Like, people just love to talk to the person on the screen. Okay, now we are going to be talking to Rose from Opening Doors and Venues. She runs this events company alongside Madalena and Sarah, and they do a fantastic job. We love working with them. We've worked with them for years, but her business has had to completely change. Obviously, her business was based around putting people in the same room, and I'm sure we all know of businesses where they've had to adapt and change. And we wanted to have a chance to talk with her, because she's had to evolve what she's offering. And what she's decided to do is really, really interesting. So a virtual event alongside a local event, a real event where people are attending at the same time. Obviously, we are still in this lockdown as I speak today, but it's not going to be forever. My sort of little theory is it's not going to be one day and it's all going to be back to normal. It's going to be this progression of, the rules sort of loosening up again, and we'll be able to go out and do things again. But I think hybrid events, and we all do, hybrid events are going to be the way forward, and Rose has also thought this. So we're going to be chatting to Rose about what we're doing about hybrid events.
I'm Rose Padmore, and my company is Opening Doors and Venues Limited. We were established in 2000, and we are a full-service event management company in a nutshell. And that involves delivery of an event from sort of the imagination in our client's head to its delivery and everything in between. 12 months ago, everything changed for us. Primarily, we were always looking at sort of face-to-face events. We've got in the calendar, we've got plans to deliver events all across the country. And then, as we all know, that changed, and in March. Pretty much by then, everything was cancelled. So the year ahead was blank. Quite quickly, one of our clients, an international client, decided that they were going to invest in delivering a virtual event. Now, in a very short time, we and a lot of our industry colleagues were then tasked with sourcing how we were going to do this. And the whole industry were learning as we went along, incredibly adaptable. And long story short, we partnered up with an agency who had developed a platform that enabled us to deliver a 5-day, fairly complex international medical research conference. But we did work with a great sort of technical team who were actually based in various places across the world, but we all came together as a team. I think that live streaming will become the normal, the new normal, and it will be integral to events going forward. Hybrid will be the new normal. So rather than totally virtual, I mean, hybrid is slightly complicated in that some people's perception of a hybrid is that it is purely live streaming and a remote audience and a virtual audience. I think a true hybrid is where we're going to be bringing two audiences together. So you're going to be having you've got your studio, if you like, but your studio is in fact an event. So it's got a live audience there as well. So you've got your live streaming of the event, but you've also got a live audience there, but you've also got a virtual audience. And it won't just be a few, and it won't just be like in the past, you would have live streamed the event to an audience if they couldn't make it. And there was no effort made to communicate with that remote audience. They were just given the opportunity to be a fly on the wall and watch. That's what's changed now, because the remote audience have been so used to being a virtual audience, their expectations are different. Live streaming is going to be integral to however we move forward, when we've got a live audience and we've got a virtual audience. Yeah, so that it is going to be integral.
There you go. Thank you so much, Rose, for A, participating in that interview, and B, just running a fantastic company. So if you do need your events organising, or just part of it, if you just want somebody to handle the sponsorship, they've got tons of experience with all sorts of different events all over the place. So yeah, please do get in touch with them. So thank you very much. Now, we're going to talk about other ideas that you could be doing for live stream. So obviously we're hosting this on a little website called youtube.com. Apparently it does it very well. And you can host on Facebook and things like that. But there are other platforms that you could use. And one that we've come across that we find quite useful is one called Hopin. So Hopin is a platform where it kind of creates its own bubble, its own atmosphere, where those network events where you could have a main speaker, but then you would have breakout sessions, you would have other topics. So for example, if it was a day talking about education in primary schools, you might have a breakout session talking about how to teach maths in primary schools. So it's a really great way of A, getting everybody in the same area, but also having breakout sessions that are essentially just Zoom calls that people can talk about specific topics, but you also have the main show. So the main show would be a live stream like this, but then in the wings you'd have people waiting around. You'd also have a schedule on there as well. So everything's really nicely laid out. You can have a bit of branding on there. So it's a nice environment that you can customize. Really useful tool that we've come across during this whole live streaming event. And then another thing that you could do to make your event special is you could send something out to the audience, to the viewers. Now, if you check your front door, only joking, we haven't sent anything out. That's down to Matt tightening the purse strings, I'm afraid. No, it's just a case of maybe you could make the event one of those things where you could send a thank you care package, a little tiny bottle of champagne or whatever it is, to people just to thank them that they've been to the event. If it's a closed, exclusive event, they could get something through the post, for example. Things like cocktail kits, to, you know, especially for awards or events that are a little bit more light-hearted. We've come across events where they send out this kit where you kind of DIY a fun cocktail, and then everybody's doing it at the same time in one of the breaks, and it brings everybody together. So that is something that's really just entertaining and fun about running a live stream. Another thing that you could do is you could have maybe like a large Zoom call audience. So this would be a call, this wouldn't be like a Zoom call where you can, you know, hear everybody talk, but it would be a case of, you know, just having them there, maybe they're dressed up to the nines, and you could cut to them on the big screen and you could see them watching and waving and so on. And the other one would be sponsors. So everybody knows who's run an event or been at an event, sponsors play a huge part. They sometimes pay for, you know, part of the event, if not all of the event. And there are tons of things that you can sponsor on an event like this, on a live stream. So you could sponsor anything. Essentially, we could have a ticker that runs along the bottom here with, you know, company logos on, a message on. You can have ad breaks. So if a video has if a company has a video and they want to display that, and they can pay for an ad break as a sponsor. You could sponsor the countdown clock at the start. You could have a sponsor Zoom call. You could have a sponsor breakout session. All sorts of stuff can be sponsored. So don't think that you're limited like you are. You know, you can sponsor any part of the live stream. You could have a watermark in the corner. All sorts of different things that can be sponsored. So those are the different things that we can do on the live streams. And now we're going to talk about the cost. So it's one of those topics that people always want to know, oh, this is all well and good, you know, but how much does this cost? And I am going to say actual figures, but I can't give you like this is how much it's going to cost, this is the definitive figure, done. I wish it was that easy. You know, I wish we had a business where we just had a price and we could just go. But with video production and animation, it's never that easy because there's so many variables. There's so many different things we can do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you a range. I'm going to give you a low end and a high end and a mid range of what you could get within that. So if we talk about money, it would range between £6,000 to £20,000. Now I know that's a big range. I know that's a huge range. But at the lower end of that range, you could do something like we're doing today, where you've got a mini studio, you've got a nice backdrop, a few Zoom calls, a few pre-recorded videos, and basically, you know, some things that we can line up, but we're not spending too much time editing them before the live stream. But it's still a really high-end event. It's still something that stands out from the crowd that your competitors are definitely not doing. In the mid-range, that's where we can start to get a little bit more creative. We can have more graphics that are bespoke to your brand popping up. We can have a remote crew where somebody's in a different location. We can have like key speakers and all sorts of stuff. You can really up the production with in the mid-range. And then the higher end, that's when you can have all the videos, well, not all the videos in the world, but a lot more pre-recorded videos lined up. Pre-recorded videos that are made specifically for that event, that are branded. Maybe we could repurpose old footage to make them into pre-recorded videos for the event, and you could have anywhere between 6 and 10 of those pre-recorded videos lined up. All the graphics would be ready for you. You could have 1 or 2 remote locations. You could have a bigger studio set up. You could have multiple stages on the one stage. You could rent in kit. You could have a professional host, not somebody with a black country accent like mine. And you know, you could really just up the scale of it like you would a traditional local event. So it really does depend on where you fall on that scale of what you know you want to do and what you could do. And I know I haven't given you that definitive price, but I hope that I've kind of given you an idea of what it would cost and where you would fall on that scale. I didn't want to do this live stream today and just avoid cost altogether because it's so important and everybody always sort of darts around figures. So we did want to give you some idea of numbers. So that's that. Now we are going to wrap up soon. We are coming to the end of the live stream. We've been going for about 1 hour and 7 minutes according to my clock down here. So I want to thank you so far for joining me, for putting up with my voice, and we really do appreciate you tuning in on this. What day is it? Thursday? Wednesday? It was Thursday. Now, on this Thursday morning, we do appreciate it. But we do have a bit of a Q&A session lined up for the last bit. So this is your last chance to get your questions in. So we're going to go back to Matt. Matt, was there anything that you wanted to add in about the cost and the sort of running of the live stream? Was there anything you wanted to add in?
I suppose the only thing I would add to what you already kind of went into depth about would be that when you put together an event, whether that's just a purely in-person one or it's a hybrid or it's a live stream, I think if it's high quality and it's well thought through, then you're going to get maximum engagement from potentially your staff, or if it's you're trying to get customers, it gives you the maximum chance of recruiting new customers, or if it's about getting sponsorship on board to make the event happen, gives you a chance to actually get sponsors on board as well, because everybody wants to put their name to something of high quality. So it should, a well-planned event, whether virtual or whether in person, should really work out and pay for itself. Which I know it's easier said than done now, but it should add a lot of quality and make it more justifiable as well. Okay, good. Well, we're on to the questions. This is our final Q&A section. Obviously, if you've got some questions, we're going to try and fly through some of the quick and easy ones as quickly as we can. But if there's some beefier questions, we'll talk about those as well. So what you got, Matt? Yep. Great. So we've got BCRS for asking what are your key tips for making an online event interactive for the viewers or the watchers?
Key tips to make it interactive. I suppose it all depends on what kind of business you are, but I like to make things a little bit fun, a little bit sort of a light tone. So if somebody acknowledges something funny in the chat, I always like to say something about it. But obviously, every business is different. All businesses have their own tone. But I think just that feedback from the chat is something that's useful, and just really making it valuable for your viewers, making it something that they actually want to know. It's not just you flexing. There's a bit of flex. We have to show our showreel and a little bit of that, but valuable information. That's why I told you the cost. That's why I wanted to mention actual numbers and not avoid. Oh yeah, this is so it's so affordable. You don't want to avoid those questions. You want to answer them properly. So I think that is something. But that's off the top of my head. That's what I can think of. I don't know if you can think of anything, Matt.
The other things, I think, just to try and make it interactive, isn't it? Like, whether there's some sort of quiz element, maybe. I mean, quizzes have been done very, very much in this last 12 months, so maybe not that. But you know what I'm saying? Something where there's a cocktail making thing that you touched on earlier, or the awards element, or there's something that's been posted out. Anything you can do to make it kind of light-hearted, or there's a game element would be good.
You could have a poll, couldn't you? You could have like a real event. You could have a kind of poll where it could be like a Google form or something, but you could send something out and acknowledge it at the start of the stream and get people to take part. It could be a bit of fun. It could be a serious question or whatever, but then you come back to it at the end, so giving people something to come back to. Matt, I've just remembered that I've completely forgot something. Oh.
What is it?
It's a little bit of an offer that we was going to make to people. So I completely forgot. So that question earlier, I was like, what do you do when you forget something? You just acknowledge it, like I just did there. So what we was going to say to anybody who has put up with my voice for the last hour and 11 minutes, we are happy to talk to you on a video call, and don't feel like that we're just only going to talk to people that are interested in the big events and the high end of that price range that I gave. If you've got questions about anything, if you're running a small webinar that you think, I don't want to bother them too much about this little thing that I've got going, or, it is something that you want to do a little bit more with. Matt and I, we're nice guys, we're nice and friendly, we're happy to spend an hour of our time talking to you over a video call. If you've been in this live stream and you put up with me, I think that's the least we can do, isn't it, Matt?
Yeah, absolutely. If you need any help whatsoever, like as Mike says, if it's a webinar thing, it's something you're doing in-house, you want some tips, you just want to talk over some of the things that came up today, but there's too many things to type in the questions or they didn't get addressed, just let us know. Or obviously, if we can help you with something that's, for us, obviously that's great. But we're more than happy to what we're trying to do, especially in this time more than ever, is just help businesses move in the right direction. So if we can share some knowledge around that, we'd be absolutely delighted to do it. So please drop us an email, info@stmedia.co.uk. It's probably the best way, or you can go onto our website stmedia.co.uk and make a call in, and we'll get something set up.
Lovely stuff. And every event requires creative thinking. You know, it requires solutions to problems, and that's why a video call is always a good idea. And we always do that with most of our videos, is just have a chat. It's just the simplest way to get what's in your head out, and we can have a talk. And you know, if it's something that you can just do yourself, and we'll be open and honest, and we're happy to just help people make great videos and live streams. That's it. So okay, over to the questions, Matthew. What we got?
Great. Yeah. So we had another one coming from Superfast IT, and they're saying, what are the pros and cons of trying to do it yourself versus working with the pros like you guys? Well, I jotted down a few things on that, and I was thinking, well, hopefully it makes it less stressful, for one, if you get some professionals to help you. It kind of forces it to happen as well, because now you've paid for something, you've got a date in the diary, it's all moving parts where you can't just now easily put it off as you could if it was just a DIY type one. I touched on it already. I think if it's higher quality as well, that gives it a better chance of it being a success, because you might attract the sponsorships you're looking for. It might be the difference between recruiting a new customer or engaging those members of staff that maybe you've got 1,000+ staff or something like that, and it's an award ceremony. This could be the difference between them watching it or not, if it's done properly or if it actually happens. So I think there are some definite pros to working with a professional company. Maybe some of the pros of doing it yourself is you can have a go without any kind of major cost. You might be able to kind of keep it in house. You might be able to still have a bit of fun with it and make it achievable. If it's something that's, maybe it's for a much smaller event, it doesn't need to go all out. Why not try something yourself? If a webinar could achieve it, you don't need to go all out. So it's probably about weighing up each situation, I would have thought. I don't know if you've got any other thoughts on that, Mike.
Yeah, it's these are stressful things to run. Like, just to sort of break down the fourth wall again, like half an hour before this live stream, we were thrashing about little bits and bobs that don't even matter now, but they are stressful. So you're kind of spreading the load a little bit when you run an event with a professional team. But obviously, as Matt said, if you're running an event where you just want to keep the cost down a little bit, you want to give it a go, and it's interesting you mentioned Joe Wicks, the success that he's had, but he still definitely puts money into it, because in what he does a live stream and so on. But when those live streams are over, there's somebody in the background making little clips on video, like cutting them down and making them more appealing and bite-sized, and editing them in the background when they're done. So he definitely puts money into it. So but he essentially he did sort of just do it himself and see what happens, and he had great success. So he's like the shining beacon of somebody who just had a go, and now he's still doing it essentially just from his house, obviously. But there is somebody that he probably, I don't know for sure, but probably pays to put the graphics on and edit them down and making sure that they're looking good, and he probably got advice about cameras and all sorts of stuff. So everybody needs that little bit of help, and when you get that advice and that expertise, it can really make a big difference. So that's what I would say. Right then, we've got to get through some of these questions now, because we're waffling on, Matt, like we always do.
Yeah. Well, there's one last main one, really. So I think we can make this the last one, and it was from Opening Doors, and they said, how many concurrent Zoom links or people can you bring in remotely or on the screen during a live stream? So whether that's Zoom or whether that's like linking up to different locations, I'm assuming that's what we're saying. How many different kind of situations can you have there?
Yeah, so it's like it's like any Zoom call, I suppose. Like, the more people you have on it, especially if you're giving everybody an equal chance to speak, chaos can ensue. So essentially you can put as many people as you like. I don't know if there's a limit on the pro accounts, Tom. I have no idea really, but it's a lot of people that you can put on. So what I would say is keep it sensible. So what we did for one of our events was we had a live Zoom call active throughout the whole event, but we asked people to join it at certain times, and there was somebody in the background, a member of staff, that was managing those people coming into Zoom call and then kicking them out when they were done. So there was always a Zoom call active. It was the same link, but people join and leave when they need to. I mean, you could have 2 people on the screen at the same time. You could have 2 TV monitors and put them on 2 different TV monitors. But the thing is, you know, there is a little bit of a disconnect here with me and Matt. You know, he is over a Zoom call and there is this tiny little bit of delay, and it's not too difficult to manage when it's one person. Even if there was another person over there, I could probably deal with it, but the more elements you add, the more complexities and the more delays and the more, you know, that person's internet might go, and then you've got to deal with that screen, and so it just adds a little bit more complex, you know, stress that you might not need. I would recommend 1 or 2, and then beyond that I would probably start kicking people out and rotating them. That's what I would say.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Is that it for questions, Matthew? Have we got any more?
I think we've been through the main questions, really. Yeah, so that's that, really.
Okay, good. Well, I'm going to kick you off, Matt. Is there anything you want to say before I let you go?
All I would say is just thanks everybody for attending. I hope that hopefully it was useful and you got something out of it. That's definitely the aim, to try and give a bit of value. So, you know, thank you for coming. And if we can be of any help whatsoever, please do get in touch. And yeah, have a great rest of the day, and we'll see you soon.
Okay, thank you, Matthew. Right, well, that concludes our live stream showcase. I hope you enjoyed it. Like Matt said, it's something that we just kind of put together and thought, let's give this a go. There was nobody in the background saying, you know, this is something that it was just an idea, and now it's here. And we just want to make things useful for people. We've got a whole page on our website, and it's just under the word knowledge, and it's just things might want to know about video production. And we often find that the more information that we put out there, people are interested and they click through, and then, you know, obviously we want people to buy videos and animations from us. That's what we want. But if we can help people make their own videos, sometimes they start doing that, and then they just start sending us the edits and go, you know what, you deal with it. But we just want to see people making good videos, getting good advice about live streams and videos and animations. And that's pretty much our goal, is to help businesses excel with video. So that's it. That's the end of the live stream. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope you have the good rest of your Thursday, Friday, and a good weekend. And obviously, it is still tough times at the moment, so make sure you stay safe. Thank you for joining us. Goodbye. Bye. We're still here. Bye, everyone.
you.